What is up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingNews.com, and welcome back to another one of our Kentucky Derby updates. We do these every week. This will be a little bit shorter of a show. Not a ton to talk about. Of course, Christmas this week, and Merry Christmas to everyone watching. All right, let's get to it. We had one prep race last weekend. It was the Gunrunner Stakes at Fairgrounds, and Built was the winner of that race. It was a field of five. The big favorite, Admiral Dennis, very disappointing. He finished fourth. However, he did stumble pretty badly out of the gate. I wonder if that kind of, took a little bit out of him, if he's got a little bit of an excuse. I don't know. But what ended up happening was Built, who broke from the rail, got the lead. Speed was holding pretty good at Fairgrounds, especially inside speed. He just took him gate to wire. He earned he earned a nice victory. I'm not gonna, talk down on him because it was a runaway win. The other horses were nowhere to really be found, and it was just kind of him and him by himself. He was assigned to 92 by our speed figure. That's pretty good. That's about as good as we've been seeing here in these races going two turns for these two-year-olds. So, look, I don't think there's anything to hate about it. I think the biggest thing is, what did he beat, especially when the favorite didn't really show up? I think that's the big question mark. But this is a horse to keep an eye on. We've seen this Gunrunner Stakes, produce horses like Track Phantom, who kind of never really got going, never really, as far as distances, couldn't really match up once he had to stretch out. But we've also seen, better horses than that as well, like an Epicenter. So it's hard to say exactly what you see out of these early races, but I would say it's a nice win. It's kind of a foundation building win. I guess you could call that a little bit as well. And more than anything, he just kind of gets his name out there, right? And I think at this time of year, that's kind of, what you want to do, especially with a horse that hadn't won a stakes yet. He's put his name out there. He's put his name on the list for sure. So Built a 92 buyer speed figure for the win in the Gunrunner. All right, let's do the top five real quickly here. No changes, but I will go through them now. Number 5, Patch Adams. Of course, a nice win last time out at Churchill Downs. Number 4, Journalism. He won the Los Al Futurity, so he did a very nice job at Los Al and a runaway win. Sovereignty, number 3, another runaway winner of the Street Sense Stakes at Churchill Downs in his last start. Very good. East Avenue, 2 runaway wins before stumbling, kind of like Admiral Dennis, to be honest. But he stumbled at the biggest race of the year, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and just did no running after that. A horse that likes to be towards the front was last. So, not very good there and just did no running at all. And then number 1, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, Citizen Bull. He's number 1 yet again this week. 2 for 2 when stretching out to 2 turns, 2 wins at a mile and 16th, the American Pharaoh, and then the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I went through them kind of fast because we're going to keep talking about them in kind of a new thing we'll only really do this week. Last Thursday, we had our fantasy league draft. And so what that is we have 11 teams and they draft horses. Each team gets 5 horses and they draft them, and we all earn points as we go down the Kentucky Derby trail. The lesser Kentucky Derby races are worth less points. The bigger ones worth more. And then the Derby, Belmont, Preakness, they're all worth, obviously, a lot more. So kind of a progressive league. But the point of it is, here's kind of the 55 3-year-olds that were drafted in our league. So I'm going to put the draft board up now. So there you see it. And like I said, sometimes the Kentucky Derby winner is not even drafted. Think about Justify, Mage, Rich Strike. I mean, horses that were not going to get drafted. Mage and Justify hadn't even started yet. Rich Strike, Mystic Dan, they weren't drafted either. But horses, have been drafted on this list that go on to either win the Derby, Belmont, Preakness, or all of the above. So these are the 55. And the reason why I went through the top 5 pretty quickly is I wanted to kind of compare where my top 5 horses that I have ranked went versus, kind of where some of these other ones went. So Patch Adams, who I have at number 5, actually went at number 2 to John White and Ryan Stillman. Now, John White, now retired, but he has held about every job in racing, including his last job that he held was the morning line maker for Santa Anita and Del Mar. So obviously a well-esteemed, guy in racing over many, many years. He drafted Patch Adams with that second pick. I asked him live on the show, if you had the number 1 pick, would you have drafted Patch Adams? His answer is yes. So going into 2025, we can confirm that now. John White's horse that he likes the best out of the 2-year-old group of right now is Patch Adams. So Patch Adams, number 5 on my list. He was drafted at number 2. Journalism, if I could speak, journalism is number 4 on my list. He was taken at number 3 by Magic Mike, and that a team is compiled of Curtis Callaward, who is on a TV, or well, now FanDuel TV, and Mike Somich, who obviously one of the most esteemed handicappers in the business. So journalism at number 3. I've got him at number 4. There you go. So again, kind of what this does is kind of confirm up, hey, here's what I think of these horses. Now here's what other people think of them that are kind of in the industry. Number 3 is Sovereignty. That's who I have at number 3, excuse me. He was the 4th pick. He went to Shoddy and Davey. Now, Shoddy and Davey, a couple of fans with the Racing Dudes. They're kind of fans plus, though. 2 years ago, they won the Fantasy League. They are super followers of the sport. So, yeah, by name, they're not in the industry, but they're pretty big fans, and they follow it more than most fans. So I trust their opinion. It was interesting that Sovereignty goes at 4. I've got him ranked 3. I've got East Avenue ranked 2nd. He fell all the way down to 8 to a Geist Paddle. And Geist Paddle actually won the league last season. Another guy that, yes, you can label him as a fan, but he's definitely a super fan. He follows it day in and day out. East Avenue falls to 8 on the board. We're going to go through this whole list here in just a second, but I thought it was interesting that this guy who I've got 2nd, and I would have taken with the 2nd pick, he falls to 8. So very interesting there. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile didn't come back very well, number 1, and number 2, he really didn't do any running whatsoever. And then finally, Citizen Bull is, like I said, my number 1 on the top 5, and I had the first pick, was very lucky to get the first pick this year, and I took Citizen Bull. So there you have it. I did kind of talk to the other members of the league. Many of them would not have taken Citizen Bull number 1 because of how weak the juvenile runners have come back to run. Very good point. Can't really argue it. He's a weak number 1, but for now, I still have Citizen Bull at number 1. I'll just kind of highlight this. I don't want to go through every one of them. We talked about the first 4. Barnes at 5, of course, the maiden special weight winner at Churchill Downs on debut. Here's Admiral Dennis, who was drafted number 6. We talked about him just a minute ago. He was a strong favorite in the Gunrunner. He stumbled out of the gate. Probably still could have run a lot better than he did, but very disappointing there. San Saba, that's interesting. He was drafted at number 7. He is an unraced Bob Baffert horse, and he was drafted in the first round. So a big-time hit or miss. Now, I'm going to jump down to number 23, Matticat Road. And here's why. San Saba versus Matticat Road. Matticat Road won race. It was in a stakes race. Baffert debuted Matticat Road in a stakes race. Got 2nd to Bullard in the in the Bob Hope. They're going to race against each other. San Saba versus Matticat Road in the 2nd race at Santa Anita on December 26th. So keep an eye on that. That'll be very interesting. San Saba versus Matticat Road. Keep going here. We talked about East Avenue. Ferocious, obviously. Goes at number 9, an established horse. Gaming at number 10, even though Gaming was a no-show basically in the Los Alamitos Futurity. He goes at number 10. Bullard at 11. Rated by Merit, at 12. A nice Florida bred who's on a big-time run here. We'll keep going now through some of these other ones. I'll skip a few, but Chancer McPatrick fell all the way to 14, a horse that was undefeated going into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, didn't do a lot of running. Poster, the winner of the Rimson, falls right there at 17. I'll just keep kind of going through these here till I find one. Getaway Car, 2nd in Los Alamitos Futurity. He goes to 27. Here's one that's interesting. Varney. This is also an unraced Bob Baffert horse that's, I think getting close to a race, has a few workouts. He was at 28, so there's another unraced horse on the list here. You got a horse like Rapture that we talked about, finished 2nd in the maiden special weight. He went at 33. Here's an unraced Baffert horse at 34 named Voldemort. So you can see the team's kind of trying to just, find something here. I try to be a little sneaky in the later rounds with Voldemort. Built, the winner of the Gunrunner. How about value right there? Built went at 36. He looks like he could outrun that. Number 38 is Hip 165. This horse does not have a name. It is a colt out of Beholder, trained by, you guessed it, Bob Baffert. So kind of keep an eye on this one here. At this point, as you can see, I'm kind of just going through the ones that maybe you haven't heard of. They aren't household names. Cornucopian, add an N to this, not cornucopia. Cornucopian at 48, another Bob Baffert unraced horse. So, kind of just keeping going down that list here of unraced horses. And then Valentinian is a horse that is unraced for Todd Pletcher. So that was the list of 55. Again, we don't do this because we think you're interested in who wins the fantasy league. We do this as a fun way for you to kind of get an idea of, here are a lot of horses, add them to your stable, follow them up. And that this could be helpful down the road to kind of see where these horses fell and everything like that. So kind of wanted to show you that and kind of show you what happened. I wouldn't normally, but it's a really slow week. We have no races to talk about coming up on the weekend. It'll be next weekend before we have Derby races again. So just wanted to show you that. And remember, San Saba versus Matticat Road at Santa Anita on Thursday, December 26th should be interesting. All right, guys. That'll do it for this week's episode of the Kentucky Derby update, I guess I should, or news, whatever we want to call it. But that'll do it for this week's episode. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Hit that like button if you like the video. Hit subscribe. You really like it. You want to get alerted anytime we do videos like this. Most importantly, guys, have a great holiday week. That's what I'm calling it. I don't think we should do much this week. It's when Christmas falls right in the middle there. Let's just celebrate all week long. So everybody have a great holiday, a great Christmas, and we'll see you back here next week for more Kentucky Derby news.